Part three of how I built my tutoring business. This is some simple sage advice for you. I am a reading, writing, and spelling tutor located here in the United States. I live in a very rural area. And I had to really stop and think, where was I going to do my tutoring lessons? I started out driving to people's homes. I thought, oh, this is great. I can drive to their homes. I felt really connected and almost as if I was still in the classroom. And I was still there. I was like, oh my gosh, I had just left. I had been transitioning from doing some online tutoring for varsity tutors, picking up my first in-home student, really enjoying that because I had just retired, still not minding the drive, telling myself, well, I'm out of the house, I'm going to work, I'm going to go do my job and come home. But then looking at how much was that actually costing me? It was costing me time, money, wear and tear on my car, and I was burning holes through paper on my photocopy machine. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm spending a lot of money to drive to these people's houses. Is this the way that I really want to do it? And I decided January, the first full year that I was out of the classroom, that I did not want to be driving in the evenings in a blizzard. So I ended the practice of going to people's houses. And I said, with the weather coming in, would you mind if we just try online tutoring? I said, it might not look perfect at first, but I think we can do it. And I was not very good at it to start with. I'm a great teacher, but I'm going to tell you, online tutoring really is going to push you to be super organized and have your resources at hand. Our next video is all about resources. But I want you to really think about where you're going to teach. You do not need to be an online tutor. I just happen to prefer that because of the distance that I would have to travel from my house to the next location, and that it would really limit me on the number of students that I could actually be tutoring in any one evening. For example, tonight, I believe I've got 5 lessons back to back. I'm done in 3.5 hours, and I do not think that I would be able to have 5 lessons on one night back to back and be done before the kids were in bed because of travel time, and then having a whole bunch of stuff that I would have to have prepared and ready to go from one house to the other. So it just, in my head, it makes much more sense to do this. But let's think about the space that you have and where you envision yourself. If you still want to be connected to the kids, absolutely go into their house. If you don't want to do that, consider renting a space if you have the budget for that. But when we first start, we don't have budgets for really anything. Or maybe you want to try to tutor at a local library. There are some libraries that do not allow tutors that are actually making money to come in and get paid. So as long as you just say that you're just volunteering, they're not going to say no. But if you're saying that you're earning money off of it, they really don't want to host you. So you might have to keep that kind of under the table, like, oh yeah, I'm just here to kind of help some kids out. Yeah, I do this in my spare time. And then hopefully they won't find out because a lot of them will say, no, you can't have your business being run through our public funds for our library. So then that leaves you to find someplace else. Most schools don't want you to come in after school to tutor students because you're not an employee, which leaves you the other option of going to a noisy place like I believe I've already said, a coffee shop or another small business. So really think about that. Maybe you know a local realtor, like my twin sister has an office, and she's always said, if you're ever in town and you need to do a tutoring session, come on in. You can use my office space because she pays rent on it. I don't think I've ever taken her up on it. Maybe once, maybe once. I do know that I did tutor a couple times from the local library when I set it up. I called in advance and I said, I'm going to be in town and I know I just can't make it home for my tutoring session. Would you be okay with me tutoring online using your Wi Fi in one of your study rooms? And they didn't have a problem with that. But I think their problem is students coming in, you're sitting in that room with them, and then I think they just feel, at least at my local library, they're not really on board. My bigger one. If I went to the smaller one, I don't think it would be a problem. But I just feel like there's a lot of distractions when you do that. So really try to figure that out. And if you want them to come into your house, feel free to do that. But then remember, there's also going to be a lot of distractions and people in your own personal space. Whatever you do, and this will be the only place that I bring this up, is really consider, what does your insurance look like for tutoring. I am here in the United States, and when I first got out and I was tutoring on my own, I ended up joining a different teachers union, AAE, and I was a $25 per year member, and I got their insurance through the insurance that they provided. And that would allow me to tutor outside of the home, and it would cover anything that would happen online. And I called and I asked many questions for that, and it was right around $250. I had that policy for 3 years, and this is the first year that I've decided to go without it. I switched over to Next Insurance. I got a better policy that covers more for less, and I don't have to pay the teachers union. And so that is what I have now gone to. So look up Next Insurance. That's the only thing that I can tell you. It's got an online portal, and then I think my policy even is like, oh gosh, 10,000 or $15,000, which was significantly more than what I had before for what I was paying. So for a little bit less, it's still around $225 or so, 220, but I got more coverage. And if my house would ever burn down, my home office supplies are covered up to like $5,000. So that would easily cover the cost of a new computer for me. And that's really my bread and butter. So I'm going to wrap this up. When you're thinking about the space to teach, think about, who is your learner? Can your learner be in a public space, or do they have to be in a private space? What types of resources are you going to need to do that job? Can you do it online, or do you have to be in person? And then what would that distance look like for you? Okay, stay tuned for part 3 when we talk about resources.